Well, just when you thought that this couldn't get any wackier, any more entertaining, the 49ers, against so many odds, have officially punched their ticket back into the playoffs thanks to one of the wildest finishes that you'll ever see. I guess it was never going to be easy for the 49ers. It was going to be torturous for the 49ers. They needed the Steelers to beat the Lions. And yes, the Steelers did beat the Lions, but oh my goodness. For those of you who weren't watching or couldn't watch, it was 29-24 Pittsburgh. The Steelers had missed a field goal, a short field goal, missed by a good kicker in Chris Boswell. That gave the Lions a chance to drive down the field and score at the very end of the game to make the 49ers earn the playoffs the hard way. But the Lions committed an offensive pass interference penalty on the final play of the game, which actually negated an Amon-Ra St. Brown pitch back to Jared Goff, who had dove across the goal line for what appeared to be the winning touchdown. And the 49ers benefited from the call against Amon-Ra St. Brown. Shout out to Jalen Ramsey, who was on coverage against Amon-Ra St. Brown to draw that offensive pass interference penalty. Anyway, the result is that the San Francisco 49ers, left for dead after early season injury decimation, have clinched a spot in the NFC playoffs with 3 games left to play. They control their own destiny for the number 1 seed. This is an NFL story of the year. That's what I put up on X. And I also said, imagine walking out of the 49ers loss to Tampa, where Fred Warner shattered his ankle, and hearing someone predict that the 49ers would clinch with 3 games remaining. You'd think that they're crazy. I mean, at the time, yeah, the 49ers had a winning record. I think they were a game above 500, maybe 2 games above 500, but they had lost Nick Bosa. They had lost Fred Warner in gruesome fashion. Brock Purdy was on the shelf. They still had more injuries to go. Michael Williams wasn't even hurt yet. It was still relatively early. That was week 6 of this season. It was not headed in the right direction. The loss to Tampa was not a pretty one. I thought at the time, if the 49ers could fight their way through that adversity, maybe they can squeeze their way into a playoff spot on the very last week of the season, like they did in 2021, where they beat the Rams in overtime at SoFi with the Ambry Thomas interception of Matthew Stafford. I thought that that would probably have to be the path for the 49ers. But no, here they are with 3 games left. That playoff spot is secured. The Detroit Lions can no longer take away a playoff spot from the San Francisco 49ers. This is a remarkable, odds-defying, unprecedented run for San Francisco, and I just recommend to everyone to cherish it. I don't think that we've ever seen anything like it this year. And, you know, some of what we've watched while the 49ers have waited for this Monday Night Football game against the Indianapolis Colts tomorrow has been borderline absurd. You think about the Thursday game where the Seattle Seahawks beat the Rams. That didn't help the 49ers clinch a playoff spot, but it did help inch them closer to the number 1 seed. It made that a distinct possibility for San Francisco. Then you saw the game last night between the Bears and the Packers, which really set the table for a showdown next week at Levi's Stadium. Chicago visits the 49ers for Sunday Night Football. And then you watch this. The Lions, it looked like they were going to be run out of the building by the Steelers, but in this league, for this 49ers team, nothing comes easily. And they pushed it all the way to the very end to one of the most dramatic finishes imaginable. It was a good call from the officiating crew. It indeed was offensive pass interference, but when all gloves are off at a moment like that, when the officials are talking about it for 2 minutes before making a call, you don't know which way that's going to go. I was not confident that that was going to be called in a way that favored the Steelers and the 49ers. Ultimately, though, the officials did call it pass interference, and the 49ers are back in the NFC playoffs. They, you know, with this, they take a tremendous amount of pressure off of the next 3 weeks, because the next 3 weeks are going to be intense, and they were going to be intense regardless. You've got the Indianapolis Colts and Phillip Rivers tomorrow, and the Colts are fighting for their lives. A lot of AFC teams are going to be cheering for the 49ers tomorrow. The Patriots, the Chargers, and the Bills can all clinch playoff berths if the Colts lose. So they're going to become 49ers fans. Josh Allen already was a 49ers fan. You know who else grew up a 49ers fan? Aaron Rodgers. Shout out to Aaron Rodgers. I'm not sure what that tattoo is all about on his left bicep. I had never noticed that before until now. I'm sure they talk about it on social media. But the Chico kid, we all know that Aaron Rodgers grew up a 49ers fan. Well, he was finally able to win a game for the 49ers today because that was directly for San Francisco. 29-24 Steelers over the Lions, pushes the 49ers into the playoffs. But you have this game against the Colts for San Francisco. You've got the showdown against the Chicago Bears on Sunday Night Football. And then you have a January 4th finale against the Seattle Seahawks that might be also flexed into prime time. There's a really good chance that the 49ers are in prime time 3 straight weeks to close this 2025 regular season. And none of these 3 games are going to be easy. Probably the easiest on paper is tomorrow because you're playing a 44-year-old quarterback and a banged-up Indianapolis Colts defense. But the Chicago Bears, you just saw them beat the Green Bay Packers, and the Bears are a really good football team. And then the Seattle Seahawks, well, they're actually one of the best teams of all time. If you look at defense adjusted value over average, DVOA, they just beat the Rams, another one of the top 5 teams of all time through this point of the season. The Seahawks are no joke. 49ers already have a win over them in week 1, but San Francisco was at much fuller strength back in week 1. That is going to be a battle, and if the 49ers set it up properly with wins over the next 2 weeks, that could be for the number 1 seed. The nightmare scenario of the 49ers losing all 3 of their remaining games and then being excluded from the playoffs is now off the table, thanks to what the Pittsburgh Steelers just did against the Detroit Lions. Anyway, let's pop open the team tier chart again to get a little bit of perspective on all of this, because we saw some really interesting results around the NFL today. But the Lions, they did not impress me defensively at all this season. And as you can see, the Lions are below average defense. They might still have a fighting hope to get into the playoffs if there are some Packers losses in front of them. But in all likelihood, the Lions are done. This is a mediocre team which regressed offensively big time without Ben Johnson. He went to Chicago. He's obviously helped them a lot. And they regressed without Aaron Glenn, who went to be the head coach of the New York Jets. The Lions took a step back from NFC 1 seed to a team that's probably not going to make the NFC playoffs. They definitely cannot threaten the 49ers spot in those NFC playoffs after losing today. So we saw a Steelers team, which is better than the Lions, beat Detroit in Detroit. As you can see, Pittsburgh's logo in a better spot than Detroit's here, even despite the special teams gaffe at the end of the game where Boswell missed that kick. Today, we also saw Jacksonville hammer Denver. And I don't know if you guys saw, I tweeted this last night or maybe this morning. I forgot when. I've been traveling a lot. I've lost track of time. But I think that Jacksonville is the real under-the-radar dark horse of the stretch run. And maybe they're not a dark horse anymore after pummeling Denver on the road. But look where Jacksonville, and this, by the way, this is the past 5 weeks. These are the team tiers from the past 5 weeks that I'm showing, just to make that clear. How are teams performing entering this stretch run? The team that had been performing the best, and I think will continue to occupy this spot, are the Jacksonville Jaguars, with a great defense, an offense helmed by Trevor Lawrence playing some good football. They went into Denver today, ended a very, very long losing streak, ended a very long winning streak for the Broncos. Really exposed the Denver Broncos defense that has not been playing great football. They're way down here. And, you know, the reason that I bring up Jacksonville is because they are the only team in the NFL to have beaten the 49ers in a game where Brock Purdy has started this year. So this is a lesson for people who overreact. And back after week 4, a lot of people overreacted, saying that the 49ers had lost to a bad Jacksonville team and that it was somehow inexcusable. Well, Jacksonville over the course of the past month and a half has been the best team in football, at least by an offense-defense efficiency measurement. They just beat the Broncos, who had the longest winning streak in football, by multiple possessions on the road. And the only way that they beat the 49ers very narrowly was thanks to a punt return touchdown, thanks to what I think was a missed call against Upton Stout. They said it was defensive pass interference or holding or whatever it was, but I don't think that was a good call. And also because Brock Purdy was not 100% or close to 100% for that game in week 4. So if the 49ers were able to push a team like Jacksonville, without Nick Bosa, by the way, he had gotten hurt the week before. So if they were able to push Jacksonville to the brink, despite all of those things going wrong, and now you're seeing what Jacksonville is doing to the league after trading for Jacoby Myers, why not the 49ers, right? Why not San Francisco? Now, a big thing for San Francisco is going to be to secure as good a positioning as possible for this postseason, and that's where the next 3 games come in. But now there isn't that dreaded bottom fallout scenario for the 49ers since they have clinched that playoff berth. Shanahan has coached the 49ers to the playoffs in 2019, 2021, 2022, 2023, and now 2025. And every single time that the 49ers have made the playoffs, and this goes back and holds true even to the Jim Harbaugh era. So every single time the 49ers have made the playoffs in the last decade and a half, they have qualified for at least the NFC title game. That is a crazy, crazy streak. So it hasn't been 49ers go to the playoffs, exit quickly, whether it be Jim Harbaugh coaching this football team or Kyle Shanahan coaching this football team. They have been ready to deliver in January. They have come prepared with their big boy pants on, and they have taken this to at least the NFC Championship game. Now, the way that you set this up, and why don't we talk about some of the seedings? Why don't we see if this has been updated? We can go to the box score of the game that we just watched. This is Pittsburgh and Detroit. Just wild. I know that this is not going to be as relevant for some of you, unless the 49ers play the Steelers in the Super Bowl or something. We're not going to pour over the stats. But I do have to say that Gainwell, he had a couple of amazing plays in this game, including a long 45-yard touchdown run. I think that he has the best name possible. He had the 45-yard touchdown catch. I'm sorry. Gainwell had 50 yards on the ground. The 45-yard touchdown catch was the amazing play before halftime where he got his arm in between the ground and the football, and the Lions were shocked. And that went in the Steelers' favor at the end of the half, and then they had a play go in their favor at the end of the second half. I just want to take a peripheral look at this because this is the box score that officially stamped the 49ers ticket into the postseason. The Steelers were better than the Lions today, I think, undoubtedly. 481 yards of total offense, 6.9 yards per play. They suffered a couple turnovers very close to the goal line in this football game, which was really brutal for the Pittsburgh Steelers, but they still found a way to get it done. I consider the missed field goal to be a turnover close to the goal line. That shocked me. It should have been 32-24 had Boswell made that. Instead, the Steelers and by extension, the 49ers had to sweat this one out. But we're here to go to the standings, and we're here to go straight to the NFC standings, which have not changed today except for the number 4 seed. We saw the Carolina Panthers beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to move to 8-7. So the Panthers, the way this works, by the way, if some people need an explanation for how the standings work, the 4 division winners take the top 4 spots in order of their records. Okay, so Seattle right now is in first place in the NFC West. They're 12-3, best record. They have the number 1 spot. Chicago's the leader in the North. They beat Green Bay last night, 11-4. They're the 2 spot. Philadelphia clinched the East last night against Washington. They're the number 3 spot. And this race is still ongoing. Carolina and Tampa are going back and forth. They actually still play once more. So Carolina right now is in the driver's seat after beating Tampa today. But they actually, some of the odds makers think that Tampa is going to win that. I'll explain why in a second. So it's the 4 division winners and then the remaining 3 best records. Those are your wild card teams. As of right now, the Rams have the best record of the remaining teams who aren't in the division lead at 11-4. But if the 49ers beat the Colts tomorrow, they will be 11-4 and they will hold a tiebreaker over the Rams by virtue of conference record and division record better than the Rams as well. They split the head-to-head this season. So the 49ers with a win tomorrow They've already clinched the playoffs. So they can't do that anymore, but they can move up from 6 to 5, and they could keep their hopes for number 1 alive because, as you can see, the 49ers are only 1 game in the loss column behind the Seattle Seahawks, and they do get to play the Seahawks on January 4th. Then there's Green Bay. They're hanging on by a thread to that number 7 seed. The Detroit Lions are the team that can still catch Green Bay. I think that it would take 2 losses for Green Bay and a pair of wins for the Lions. If I'm looking at this, the Lions would have a 10-7 record, and the Packers would be 9-7-1. And if that happened, Detroit would be able to take the final spot in the NFC playoffs at number 7. But the 49ers now are, unless it's Green Bay that's catching them, the 49ers are in the playoff picture for sure. They can still sink down to number 7 if they do lose this year for the rest of their games, but they will not be passed by the Lions, which means that the 49ers are in the tournament no matter what. Now, the whole Carolina thing, this is interesting. Let's click on Carolina here. Let's take a look at their schedule for the rest of this season. They just beat Tampa Bay 23-20 today. They play against the Seattle Seahawks next week. So NFC West leader goes to Carolina, to Charlotte to play the Seahawks, and then they play at Tampa Bay. So it's a rematch with the Bucs, second in 3 weeks to close the season on January 4th. The Bucs schedule, meanwhile, is at the Dolphins. So the Bucs are much more likely to win next week. While I think the Panthers are much more likely to lose, the Seahawks will be favored over the Panthers, and that's going to set up the grudge match in the final week of the regular season. That could be a game that also is flexed, the Panthers against the Bucs. Although if I am a television executive, I would much rather flex 49ers Seahawks in week 18 of this season. I mean, just you look at the Bucs and you look at the Panthers, you don't have the same brand recognition as the 49ers. I know the Seahawks don't have great brand recognition, but I still consider the Seahawks to be a little more noble than the Carolina Panthers and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Maybe that's just my NFC West bias, but the 49ers definitely are one of the marquee franchises of this league. I think that you can't lose if you're the NFL and you flex the 49ers and the Seahawks into Sunday Night Football that final week. And, I'm actually biased against flexing games into prime time that I have to cover because it's a lot harder for me to cover the game in prime time. Tomorrow, when I'm in Indianapolis, I'm not going to be leaving that stadium until well after midnight because it's not starting until 8 p.m. Eastern time. Even if the game's Pacific time, it starts at 5. You're probably not wrapped up until 8:30, 9 p.m. You got to go to the locker room, write the article, do all that. It's tiring, but I'm going to leave my personal feelings and my personal biases about flexing games at the door, and I'll say that I think the 49ers Seahawks should be flexed once we do get to week 18. Now, the 49ers and the Seahawks both still have some work to do to ensure that it's as big of a matchup as possible. They need to beat the teams in front of them leading up to that game, especially the 49ers, who are a little bit behind the Seattle Seahawks in the standings right now. But I think at this moment, it's important that we just sit back and appreciate the journey that it took the 49ers to get to this spot. I mean, left for dead, the 49ers were at the week 6, week 7 mark of this year. There's no question about it. The 49ers were not picked by anybody to clinch a playoff berth with this much time left. I mean, you could say they made it with relative ease. I wouldn't say that it was ease. I think the 49ers have had to strain to get to this coveted point, and I think that we need to spend some time crediting everybody who's made this possible for the 49ers because, again, when they have made the postseason under Kyle Shanahan, they have not messed around. They've made it to at least the NFC Championship game every single time. In the 2019 season, they won that game. They made it to the Super Bowl. In 2021, they held a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter of the NFC Championship game. They ran out of gas. In 2022, I think the 49ers almost certainly would have beaten the Eagles had Brock Purdy not gotten hurt in the first quarter. In 2023, they took on the Lions, the same team that we just saw lose to help pave the way for the 49ers path into the Super Bowl. Well, the Lions today helped pave the way for the 49ers path into the playoffs. Back in 2023, that season when the 49ers beat them, that paved the 49ers path into the Super Bowl. My main point is that January football is something that seems to come very naturally to Kyle Shanahan, Brock Purdy, and this team. Purdy's been really good in the playoffs. The 49ers have played their best football, and they have made it to at least that title game. So just getting a seat at the table, securing that today, giving them a firm opportunity to just take upward swings now. Like, you have an opportunity now to climb up to that number one seed if you're the 49ers, with nowhere near as much pressure as there had been and would have been had the Pittsburgh Steelers not won that game against the Detroit Lions today. So when we talk about credit for this 49ers season, I think it has to start with this graphic. The 49ers have two of the top four quarterbacks in the entire NFL when it comes to success rate. And I didn't just want to share a Brock Purdy graphic, but even though he's maybe the best quarterback in the league this year. I mean, he's been playing at such a high level when he has been available. But I didn't just want to share a Purdy graphic. We can share plenty of those further into this show. What I wanted to encapsulate is the totality of the team effort that the 49ers have needed. They've badly needed to get to this point of clinching the postseason. They have two of the top four quarterbacks in terms of success rate in the whole league. Mac Jones is QB2 over his 8 starts, and the 49ers badly needed those 5 wins over his 8 starts to be in this position right now. Put up a 53% success rate. What does that mean? That means that 53% of dropbacks for Mac Jones ended up yielding a positive EPA, expected points added per play. For comparison, like, anything above 50% is really good. The top 5 quarterbacks in the league that start at 52.6%. Purdy is off the charts this year in success rate at 55.7%. He leads the league. He deserves his flowers. We'll give Brock Purdy his flowers. But we cannot ignore the fact that Mac Jones, while Brock Purdy has been absolutely sensational, Mac Jones has been extremely good as well. In fact, there's no other team that can say that their backup quarterback would be able to put up a success rate of 53% over an 8-game stretch. We saw Malik Willis play well for Green Bay last night after Jordan Love exited with the concussion, but that was a 1-game sample. And Malik Willis didn't play nearly that well, didn't play at number 4 level success rate when he played more games back in the 2024 season when Jordan Love was out following the injury that he suffered in Brazil week 1. The fact that the 49ers have 2 QBs ranked this high, well, some of the credit I think goes to this guy for sure, Kyle Shanahan. That's the point, though, is that you have to find quarterbacks who meld well with their play caller, with the system, and the 49ers have that. Like, the 49ers have this setup where Brock Purdy and Kyle Shanahan have a tremendously productive partnership. Purdy is the right quarterback for Shanahan. Shanahan is the right coach for Purdy. And I think you could say the same thing about Mac Jones. Now, Jones has definitely been more limited than Brock Purdy, but the 49ers, the proof is in the pudding. The results are undeniable. A success rate this high for 2 quarterbacks is what it has taken for the 49ers to be at this record, 10-4, with a chance to go at 11-4 in Indianapolis tomorrow, despite the fact that their defense is ranked in the 20s, despite the fact that so many guys have gotten hurt. They have been able to elevate to this level despite being written off weeks, months ago. Now they have a chance to grab that NFC number 1 seed, and they're for sure in the NFC playoffs. Here's the thing about Brock Purdy, and you could look me straight in the eyes, I'll look you straight in the eyes. This is what the rest of the media won't tell you. This is what a lot of fans won't tell you because they've been led astray. Brock Purdy elevates Kyle Shanahan's system. Kyle Shanahan's system is already maybe the best in the league to begin with. But Brock Purdy comes in and takes that system to another level. If you need visual illustration of that, you can look at this right here. You're probably looking for Brock Purdy. I'll give you a few seconds to try to find his dot on this graph. But this is 3rd and 4th down efficiency here in 2025. So where's Purdy, right? Is he somewhere in the middle of this? Is he in this bunch? I mean, I'm looking for Purdy. You want to be further to the right, you want to be further up. I'm still looking for Brock Purdy's dot. We could scan through here. Interesting. I don't see his name. Where can Brock Purdy be? Oh, I found him. There he is. Just circled him in the upper right. That's where Brock Purdy is. That's the third down performance for Purdy so far this season. Third and fourth down, that is the money down. That is the quarterback's down. That's the down where a quarterback can take his play caller, take his system, take his team to another level. That's what Brock Purdy has done, and the 49ers are 4-0 ever since he's returned from the turf toe injury. The 49ers have actually only lost one game this season when Purdy has started, and it was to Jacksonville, one of maybe the hottest team, I would say the hottest team in the entire NFL. Purdy has done it, even though the 49ers have not run the football great this year. And again, he's done it despite the fact that he's not being carried by his defense. Like Matthew Stafford in LA has got a top 5 defense and the top running game in football. If anybody's being carried by his team, it's Stafford in LA. In San Francisco, the quarterback has had to get the job done this year. Mac Jones gets a lot of credit for what he did over those 8 games. Look what Brock Purdy has done this season. In order to deal the efficiency that he has dealt this year, Purdy has had to run around a lot. His average time to throw is the second highest in the league, behind only Caleb Williams, who had that very impressive throw to end the game. But Williams has generally been very inaccurate this year. Accuracy is measured on the y-axis. Average time of throw is measured on the x-axis. You've got all the quarterbacks in the league bunched up over here. You see Mac Jones's logo is right here. I know it's hard to read Mac Jones. He's actually near Daniel Jones. He got rid of the ball very quickly over his 8 games and was generally accurate, +3 CPOE. Look how different the Brock Purdy time is. Purdy's average time to throw is about 0.4 of a second, maybe almost half a second more than Mac Jones's average time to throw, which is an eternity in the NFL, which shows you how Purdy has escaped the pocket against some of these premier pass rushes. We look at the game against Cleveland as a really, really good example. And as he's escaped that pocket, he's been able to open up opportunities to generate efficiency. This statistic right here, he's the only quarterback who takes this long to throw who is this accurate. I mean, the accuracy has been insane for Brock Purdy, considering what he is doing to escape and create for this San Francisco offense. I mean, that graph right there lends itself directly into this one. If you can be accurate while moving around, while buying time, then you're going to be really good on third down, which is what Brock Purdy has been. Third and fourth down, the money downs have been excellent for him this year. I cannot do a show talking about the 49ers clinching a playoff berth without talking about their special teams. The Seattle Seahawks have also been very good on special teams this year, and I'm glad because what they did to the Rams on Thursday, and the Rams, by the way, they fired their special teams coach after that game. Special teams was the way that the Seahawks got back into the game when they were down 16 and hopeless in the fourth quarter. Rashid Shaheed took the punt back for a touchdown. Special teams is one of the reasons why the Rams, despite being a very, very good, maybe a dominant offense-defense combination this year, have not run away from the field. In fact, the Rams, they might fall into third place in the NFC West tomorrow if the 49ers can beat the Colts. Special teams was terrible for the 49ers in 2024. They ranked dead last, number 32 in the league. The 49ers lost several expected points per game on special teams, so it literally turned wins into losses. It's like the witching hour, right, on NFL Red Zone, where wins turn into losses and losses turn into wins. Well, special teams was the witching phase of the game. It turned wins into losses for the 49ers in 2024. It is doing the opposite here in 2025. It is turning losses into wins. The 49ers are gaining almost 5 points per game, expected points on special teams, whether it be through Eddie Pinheiro kicking, Sky Moore or Brian Robinson Jr. returning, Saran Neal on kick coverage for the 49ers, some of the rookies like Marquise Siegel playing great on special teams. A lot of credit needs to go to Brant Boyer San Francisco's special teams coordinator, who has come in and completely rehauled what was a struggling unit. And he's taken them to number 2 in the league. They've been number 1 ever since week 1 when Moody was still kicking and missed 2 field goals against the Seattle Seahawks. If you discount that first week, they're number 1. If you count it, they're number 2, behind only the Seahawks. And it's part of what makes week 18 with San Francisco and Seattle set to square off potentially for the NFC's number 1 seed. It's part of what makes that game so intriguing to me, because the Seahawks and the Rams special teams was not a fair fight on Thursday night. Seahawks were way better than the Rams. They're like number 27 in the league, LA is. Seattle, number 1, they held that advantage. That gave them the arm wrestling advantage in the game as a whole. When the 49ers against the Seattle Seahawks happens on January 4th, I think that there's a good chance those two special teams units can nullify each other, and then it's going to be a more clean fight. I know Seattle has a better ranked defense than the 49ers, but the 49ers probably have the better quarterback in Brock Purdy over Sam Darnold. But Sam is good as well. One of them is a former 49ers quarterback. The other one, obviously, is the 49ers quarterback who has paved the way to this immensely high ceiling. You know, one thing, and this is one more piece of reaction to today's games. We saw the Browns almost beat the Bills, despite the fact that Shedeur Sanders, again, wasn't very good. How did that happen? Well, take a look at this. Josh Allen wasn't very good. The reason I bring this up is because we saw Brock Purdy against that Cleveland defense a few weeks ago, and he was plus 0.13 EPA per play. He was well into the positives. Brock Purdy significantly outplayed Josh Allen when it came to a people-to-people, QB to QB comparison in terms of efficiency. So just chew on that for a bit, because a lot of people think that Josh Allen is completely infallible, that his arm talent and his physicality will lead to good performances no matter what all the time. Remember that Brock Purdy was much better against a healthier Cleveland defense in worse weather. The conditions were worse a few weeks ago in Cleveland. He was much better than Josh Allen, who actually scored worse than Shedeur Sanders. Neither quarterback was good in that game. Allen, by the efficiency numbers, was worse. Purdy, a few weeks ago in Cleveland, was excellent, was plus 0.13. That's how the 49ers are in the position that they're in right now. They've got to play elite offense. They've got the quarterback to do it. They've got to play opportunistic defense. I think they've got the coordinator to shepherd the unit into that type of production, and they've got to play top-level special teams. They definitely have the coordinator to shepherd that type of production. They've already seen it so far this year. But the 49ers are back in the playoffs. I know you guys want to go watch some football. It's the Patriots against the Baltimore Ravens. So we'll go watch that. We've finished this show. The 49ers have clinched a spot back in the NFC playoffs. Wildly, wildly impressive from San Francisco to do this with 3 games left. Cherish what we've seen, because I don't think that other 49ers teams in the past, losing as much as San Francisco has lost, would be in the position that they're in right now. All right, everybody, thanks for watching. We will talk to you very soon.